Hi, everybody. My name's Adam Cohen. I'm the Vice President of Broadcasting here at NCMA Boston. Welcome to our Meet the Speaker interview for our topic for the July webinar, Improving Very Small Business Participation in the DIB, Reducing Roadblocks to Success, with our speaker, Don Shannon. Don, how are you?
Oh, I'm great, man. It's a wonderful day in Albuquerque.
There you go. All right, so let's just get right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, Adam, I'm a former Air Force officer. I retired in 1990, and following that, I went to work with Martin Marietta in my trained capacity as a logistics engineer. That lasted for a while. I ended up as a regional installation manager, and about 3 years into the program, Martin Marietta realized that they were not competitive in that market, decided to exit, and I was on the pavement. So went together with a couple of my colleagues. We started a company called BDR, Bob, Don, and Rusty. And
Great
we
name.
essentially got permission from Martin Marietta. Pardon me?
Great name.
You like the name?
That's an outstanding name.
So we got the blessing from Martin Marietta to provide as kind of an independent contractor. And for the next 9 years, we had a wonderful run of doing great things, moving letter sorting equipment, some eye-watering experiences at ground zero, moving equipment out of a building that had been damaged on 9/11, and all kinds of great war stories. Subsequently, I did some proposal work for a number of clients. And usually these clients, if they won the proposal, they wanted someone to stay on board to manage the execution of the contract. And so I ended up with a 4-year stint with ABB in Milwaukee, and then another 4 years later on for the same company, who now had their headquarters in Auburn Hills, Michigan, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I've done a lot of big proposals. I've done some contract management work for companies like Boeing, Schaefer Corporation, and now Accent. But my real passion is NCMA. And I semi-retired about 12 years ago. I'm 75 years old. So I wanted to kind of slow down a little bit, but I haven't been able to. I'm failing miserably at retirement. But
You look
I
fantastic
really
for
enjoy
75, by the
writing.
way. I would have never guessed that.
Oh, thanks. So I'm always writing articles for either Contract Management Magazine, recently the Journal of Contract Management, doing presentations at NCMA headquarters events. And for the past 4 years, I've been a chairperson, or a committee person at NCMA headquarters, national committee. And then I've kind of term limited out of that. So I ran for chapter president, and so I'm going to be the chapter president for the Rio Grande chapter in the upcoming program year.
Excellent. So I know you've mentioned a little bit of it already, but just kind of re-sum it up for us here. What kind of got you into contracts?
Yeah, well, I claim it was self-defense. When I had the small business moving letter sorting equipment, we would get just tons and tons of contract documents from the Postal Service. Most of them were simplified acquisitions, but occasionally we would get one a little larger than that. But trying to wade through the terms and conditions and the clauses and so forth. And even though the Postal Service does not follow the FAR, they do have to abide by all of the the various laws that are promulgated dealing with spending, taxpayer dollars and so forth. So I went to a very good seminar on contracting with the Postal Service, got some education, and have just been building on that foundation ever since.
Outstanding. So one question I like to ask people is, what's one thing in contracts that you really like? Like for me, I enjoy the negotiating aspect of it. I kind of joke with people, if I ever wanted to become a lawyer after getting what I've been doing in contracts, I'd go to patents or IP, because there's so much gray area. You get to have fun and you get to just debate with people. So with your vast wealth of experience, what's one thing in contracts that you really like, that just keeps putting like a smile on your face, that you just enjoy doing?
I'm a sick puppy, but I like proposals.
Completely opposite. I'm on the post award, you're on the pre-award.
Yeah.
What about that proposal aspect do you just like really like about it?
Oh, it's kind of like going big game hunting, You're out there wading through the jungle, tracking the game, and there's always the thrill of the hunt and what have you. But it's also very frustrating.
For sure. All right, let's move into. We can all see the NCMA pullover that you have on, so clearly you've been involved with NCMA before. But you talked a little bit about the becoming, chapter president here, the Rio Grande chapter upcoming program. Yeah, congratulations, and thank you for your service, by the way, as well. We all greatly appreciate that, and I greatly appreciate it. What do you have this passion for NCMA and writing all these articles and going to all the conferences. Why NCMA? What about NCMA just kind of keeps drawing you back in?
Well, I think, first of all, it's professional development. I am a professional, and so the contracts management is a profession, and I want to support that profession, both by being a contributing member of the group, but also by sharing that knowledge with other people. And NCMA gives me a great opportunity to do exactly that, be it through certification training, which I've run, I think, about 12 different certification groups, or seminar appearances, or you name it, writing articles and what have you. And by the way, the pullover came from Monica, if you know Monica at headquarters.
I love it. Yep, the chief of staff. Yep.
Yeah, I love it. Monica gave all the national committee members one of these shirts in Jacksonville at the Nexus event. So we would all be identifiable to the attendees as being staff.
I like it. I got to volunteer at the last GCMS event. That was a ton of fun. I love what NCMA does. I mean, I've been in talks with them to try bringing what I'm doing here with the broadcasting thing national. I've had chapters reach out to me. Like, there is so much good that NCMA has constantly done. And one thing for me, I've been saying this for months, that I'm so proud of, all those professional certifications now being recognized as the industry standard. And like I've seen in my job searches, preferred qualifications at CFCM, CPCM, CCCM. Like it's wonderful, because they're not just like, oh, it's a nice to have. It's now recognized as an industry standard. And I think NCMA overall just did something with some procurement organization that now, again, all those certifications are now recognized by yet another group, which is just all sorts of outstanding. So going to throw you a little curveball here. You said you've done 12 professional certifications. If you could give advice to anyone out there watching that wants to go get any level of certification from NCMA, what would you recommend? Be it the CPCM, CFCM, CCCM. What's the advice?
I think the advice is to get together with other members of your chapter and find out if there's anyone who is also interested in pursuing that same certification. Group study, in my mind, is the most effective way of preparing for the exams.
Mhm.
Challenging each other with what's in the book, and the real benefit, I think, of the study sessions, and I've done CFCM study sessions, CPCM study sessions, and then we actually did 2 times, maybe 3, a complete 36-week cover to cover FAR study group going through the entire federal acquisition
God bless
regulation.
you.
So I'm a glutton for punishment. But what I have found out is through those sessions, first of all, I learned
Mhm.
by going to those sessions because it forces me to get back in the books and refresh the knowledge. But secondly, what it does is it provides the attendees the viewpoints of other members of the group, such that, gee, I've never done a construction contract. Well, let me tell you about one. And
Mhm.
so that's I think one of the first things I would tell them to do is if you can connect with other members of your chapter and get a small group going, that's the optimum. If you can't do that, then the next step is see if you can do it virtually.
I like
Uh,
it.
and we have done virtual sessions several times over the past couple of years. We started them during COVID, and we kind of kept them going. But it there's that group projects power and projects knowledge. It's leveraging the knowledge of the group.
Sounds good to me. So now why probably a lot of people are here. And if you stayed to this point, first of all, congratulations. We appreciate it. Um, this is the event, right? Like Don and I were talking beforehand. I am so excited to hear about this event. And so again, the topic that you all are here for is improving very small business participation in the DIB, reducing roadblocks to success. What can people expect to learn during this event? Because again, I get the privilege of being able to talk with you, during pre-show and being able to ask us. Again, I came from small business before I got to BAE Systems. Then I went to MIT. So large business, academia. Then I went to small business, and I've been able to help out different small businesses. Then I was just recently in nonprofit, and you get so much of a wealth of experience going from all the different size businesses and working in that first company to see what they were doing with all the different cyber contracts that I didn't know anything about back in the day, but seeing how hard everyone was working and then seeing all the different cybers that they were going with. So like this is a very interesting topic that I think anyone in small business should be bringing to their managers. Kind of give us just a preview of what people can expect to learn during this hour and a half session.
Okay, I think I'm still working on the presentation. Obviously, I'll be doing that up to the last second. That's just the way I am.
Totally
But
fine.
I'm starting from the point of view of an article that I just had published in the most recent edition of the Journal of Contract Management, where I looked at using technology or technological means to reduce the cost of cybersecurity compliance. And in that, I did a kind of a deep dive into the demographics of the small business sector. And I found out some pretty interesting facts, some facts that kind of raised your eyebrows when we were chatting earlier.
They were very surprising
Simple things
statistics.
like
I'll tell you that much.
seven,
Very surprising.
like 70% of the small businesses in the DIB space are fewer than 20 employees. So those businesses have relatively low revenue, and they have relatively little money to invest in infrastructure. Consequently, some of these roadblocks that are out there are really keeping people out of the small business participation because of the cost of compliance. And so there's kind of a poverty line, and I kind of want to explore a little bit what that poverty line is, what's going on in the small business sector, things like, gee, even though the number of small businesses is declining dramatically, the number of dollars being spent is increasing. So what's going on there?
Right.
What's driving that? So there are some things that I will kind of dwell on a little bit. The first is, are there ways to reduce the cost of complying with the cybersecurity requirements? And I think that the first thing that I'll hit on there is understanding what those requirements actually are, because everyone seems to be confused, and it just keeps getting worse. And I said in a seminar session last week, and the seminar leader seemed confused himself, and he was an expert on the topic. So I'll draw the distinction between what's going on with the Department of Defense and what's going on with the rest of the acquisition community, because DoD is marching to its own drummer, and a lot of the things that they're advocating are being interpreted as broadly applicable to all government agencies. So I'll kind of narrow that down a little bit, and I'll look at what the cost might be to address, just a fundamental baseline that would make you compliant with the FAR clause 52204-21, which is applicable to all contracts for anything other than COTS items. I'm also going to look into a couple of other really interesting things that are coming along. You talked about SIBRs. Well, obviously, the SIBR world is hugely important, especially in the defense community, but it goes beyond the defense community. There are SIBRs available from other agencies or grants that are like SIBRs from other agencies. As a matter of fact, I almost pursued one myself. And so what are some of the opportunities here? Well, the opportunity presented by a SIBR Phase 3 is hugely important, and I think it's underappreciated by a lot of small businesses. The fact that, gee, I went through a SIBR Phase 1, Phase 2, I developed a prototype, I've shown commercial application. Now it's time to try to market that. Well, yeah, start marketing it, market it commercially, but also, how do you market it to government agencies? And who are you going to talk to, and what's going to be your strategy? Because SIBR Phase 3s can be non-competitive. They can be sole sourced. So and agencies get credit for SIBR Phase 3s. And so it's in the agency's best interest to award SIBR Phase 3s where appropriate. Okay, another thing that I really want to talk about is the benefits from a recent memo that was published by John Tenaglia, actors. And so many people are not aware that the Department of Defense has now classified any defense contractor who has not had a fully covered CAS contract in the past year is a non-traditional. And consequently, because of that non-traditional status, they can opt out of having to provide certified cost or pricing information. That's a huge, huge weight lifted off the small businesses. I can tell you, I've had a couple of those contracts where a 5-person startup gets a $10 million contract, and oh boy, what a fun job that was. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at that and some of the implications of that. I'll also be looking at things like other compliance requirements that I think that prime contractors need to be looking at to take some of the burden off of their subcontractors, be that through a mentor-protege kind of relationship or what have you. But I'm dealing with a client right now who's struggling because of the heavy burden of the manufacturing readiness level assessment that's being required by the government, by the ISO 9000 quality requirements that are being required by the prime contractor, and so on and so forth. These infrastructure type systems are a potential roadblock, and there are some solutions that I'm going to discuss concerning how to perhaps ease the sting of some of these on small businesses. So that's kind of an overview.
I love it. There is so much to learn during this event, and I have a funny feeling we're going to be using the entire hour and a half for it. So, Don, before I go ahead and plug the event and tell people where they can sign up, is there anything else that you want to share?
Nope. Look forward to seeing you and having a great session.
Excellent. All right, folks, the event is called Improving Very Small Business Participation in the DIB, Reducing Roadblocks to Success. It's on July 10th, 2024 from noon to 1:30 p.m. Eastern, and it's only $5 for the event. You can sign up over at ncmaboston.org. I believe is our website. If I don't completely bought for that, just Google NCMA Boston. Join the front page is going to be there. Click the button, click the links, $5 link. What's going to happen when you register for the event? You're going to get a link to the webinar. It is going to be a StreamYard link. And I haven't said this in past videos. That link in and of itself, test the link to see if you can get there on your computer. If not, I have a backup way for you to view the event, but you got to reach on out to us. If you have any questions about the event, you can reach out to me at ncmabosbroadcasting@gmail.com. Again, ncmabosbroadcasting@gmail.com. Want to make sure that everyone out there gets a chance to listen to this and every future event. Don, thank you so much for joining me here, and we have an outstanding webinar coming up that Don is going to be talking about. You heard a little bit here. You heard from Don, and now I'm going to be looking forward to the event. We'll see you on July 10th.